hi. But how everybody doing? A tap screen. If you're new here, please keep tapping, and we will. Okay, to everybody. If you want to debate, if you want to vote for Trump, hop in the guest box, and we will have a chat. Gold, hop in the box, and we'll talk. If you're voting for Trump, hop in the box. How's everybody doing? How's everybody doing? Can't really hear my mic. Do I need to hold it closer? How's this? Better? Better? This should be better. This should be better. Hey, thank you for the hat. Thank you so much. Hey, what's up? How old are you?
17. Unfortunately, I can't vote.
Dang. Sad face. All right. Please be 18 or older. You have to be able to vote, and only come in if you are voting for Donald Trump.
Can I rap for you?
Huh?
Can I rap for you?
You gonna rap for me? I guess. Go ahead.
Okay. Are you ready?
Go.
Okay. It's my own song, by the way. It's not like a different song. Okay, are you ready? Okay.
Do it.
Timon call me begging because bae I really was. Don't think I'll be big forever. She gonna leave me for a wait, I can't sing this. Never mind. I gotta go. Ooh.
That's funny. Okay. Please only come in if you want to debate. If you are voting for Donald Trump. Hey, what's up? How old are you? Bad boy, you there? Bad boy, you there? Okay. Sayonara.
Hi.
Hey, what's up? How old are you?
I'm 26.
Nice. Are you voting for Trump?
No, I just wanted to say how much I appreciate you for babysitting us while they're not here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Okay, everybody. Well, we will continue to look for some people and just keep going. Hey, what's up? How old are you?
Hey, I'm 41.
Nice. Are you voting for Trump?
I'm leaning towards it. The polls seem to be pushing me that way.
Why are you leaning?
Well, two reasons. Montana and West Virginia. It seems like the Democrats are going to lose both these Senate seats and lose the Senate altogether. And I think having Kamala Harris as president with no support from the Senate is going to lead to basically an ineffective presidency and a return of like Republicans in 2028 with a vengeance. And so I really think that, you know, if Kamala wins, everyone's going to be very disappointed in her, and she's going to get really bad ratings and bad reviews for 2 years, and then they're going to lose the midterm elections, and then, you know, Republicans are going to sweep in 2028. I'd rather 2028 the Democrats sweep. 4 years of Trump is going to lead to that, absolutely. Because of how bad he is.
Unfortunately, I mean, the Democrats look likely to take the House this year, like even by a small majority. So that would make Trump ineffective, and that same logic applies. So why wouldn't the Republicans just come back in with a vengeance because Trump wasn't able to pass any of his things because of the House?
No, because Trump would be in power. And so Trump being in power and not having the House would mean he's ineffective. And so the Republicans would turn against him, and the Democrats would have
I don't think the Republicans would turn against him. They have shown no willingness in the last 9 years to do so.
Well, In midterms, it's almost always goes against the president, right?
It does. Yes, it does. But that does not mean that even though the House might go our way, that the presidency would, because Trump would lead office, but he would likely leave office because the economy is going on the right direction. He would leave office with a good economy because that's the way that it's going anyway. So no matter who's in the office, we'll have a good economy, right? And then that gives them headwinds for the party who's in power. So if Harris is in power, she might not get major legislation done, but if she has a good economy, things are going well and everything, that will give the Democratic Party that headwind to go into the next cycle.
You think in the midterms, if Harris is unable to pass any of the legislation and fulfill any of her promises, that it'll buck the previous trend of all midterm
elections? If Harris wins
history?
and the House is Democratic, right?
Yeah.
And the House is Democratic, but then it goes in 2 years, then it goes to the Republicans again. Yeah. Then it's just a stalemate, as it would be with Trump. It's just a stalemate. But that has little effect on who the presidency is, only because the person in power and what they do will likely dictate who the party will win. There's no guarantee that Trump being in office will make this huge backlash, because, like in 2020, with all the shit that happened, Biden barely won, right? He only won by a few thousand.
Biden got the most votes of any candidate in history.
No.
70 million votes.
Popular vote,
like it was almost a landslide, right? Like
within the
it was like 20,000 votes from a landslide.
Within the states that mattered, he only won by 10, 20, 30,000 votes. It was some of the closest margins that we've ever seen, right? That's the problem, is that people think that it was a landslide, but it's only a landslide within the college amount, not within the voting populace, right? Because most of the votes came from New York, California, Illinois, places like that. But within the states that actually mattered, thank you for the galaxy, they were very, very, very tight. Very tight. Trump could have easily won had things just changed within like 10 to 20,000 votes.
Right. So the way the polls are lining up right now, it looks like the Democrats will win the House and the Republicans will win the Senate. So neither president will be able to get through their agenda. And so in 4 years, there will be a flip
Possibly.
To the other side.
Well, hold on.
Most likely.
I agree with you that the polls are pointing towards a Republican Senate. However, there's no guarantee that Montana is a lost cause. Tester has proven time and again that he can beat the odds. I don't think it's likely, but it could happen, right? Cruz is in a very tough race in Texas. It's one of the races that could possibly go blue also. And then as long as we maintain Ohio and Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, then we have the majority. And so things can go our way if Harris has a big enough blowout. If she wins the popular vote by 4 or 5 points, then that bodes well for a very, 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 very small majority within the Senate, but only if the vote is that high.
I don't.
Which we don't know. I'm not going to take the risk.
Are realistic, right?
I'm not going to take the risk to vote for Donald Trump simply because I think that in a 2028 that people would be so upset with him, but he could still make policy without the House and the Senate, right? I mean, he could still change people's lives for the worse just by being in office for 4 years.
I agree. Yeah, but like in 2028, I want a Democrat, and having a Kamala Harris with no Senate and then potentially losing the House in 2 years because she's ineffective she's going to be a dead end president, and the Republicans are going to come back with the force. I think this is like what history has shown over and over again. And from what you're saying, like if Kamala Harris has, a 5-point lead, like first of all, that's, not necessarily projected, but for Democrats to hold the House, do you think it's more likely than 20% that that's going to happen? Do you think it's more likely than 10%?
I don't do percentages. All I know is that it's unlikely that the Senate will go to the Democrats. I agree with you on that, but I'm saying it's not outside the possibility of realm, and I'm not willing to take the risk of voting for Donald Trump simply because in like 4 years we could have a Democrat. Because what that does is you're saying I'm willing to let Donald Trump get in power and make life shit for so many millions of people just for the possibility of 2028 having a Democrat within the office. And that's not even a given, right? That's not a given either. We could go to 2028 with J.D. Vance on the top of the ticket, and then we have President J.D. Vance. Like, that's possible too.
Possible, but unlikely. I mean,
well, yes, but in like 2016, people thought it was unlikely that Donald Trump would be president.
Numbers, right? I'm just going with practical, like pragmatic answers given the polls and given the estimates of what we have.
Well, one, we don't know whether or not the polls will have any error this time around. They may have an error towards Trump or towards Harris. We don't know yet. And if they have an error towards Harris, and she wins in a blowout, then that just disproves what you're telling me because there's a polling error. Thank you for the gifts, everybody. Thank you so much. So that's my point, is that we don't know. The polls could easily be wrong because whether you apply the a 2016 error or the 2012 error or like a 2020 error, we're going to see different results. So we have no idea until Tuesday. And I'm not going to take that risk because so many people's lives are on the line should Donald Trump win the White House, because he can make policy even without a House or a Senate.
Yeah, understood. But like what you're saying is there's a possibility, but it's a very small possibility. It's like basically all the prediction markets, you're talking about betting on a minority possibility case to just hope, right? Whereas more likely, and that's your calculation, and you're fine to do it, right? You can be more ideologically focused on that, but like when it comes to being practical here, I would rather, given the most likely and almost definite, but like most likely probability that the Republicans have the Senate, that having a Democratic president for the next 4 years will be unable to convince the American public that this is the way to go going forward.
But then you're also willing to take the risk that with the Republican Senate and a Republican president that we get two retirements from the Supreme Court. Donald Trump then is able to appoint two fresh, young, very conservative people to the court that basically cements a 6-3 majority for God knows how long, that he can continue to put on the federal bench very, very conservative people who are going to overturn policies that Democratic presidents pass anyway, right? Harris at least would be able to stop that from happening. She wouldn't be putting up right-wing conservatives. She would have to put up either somewhat liberal or more moderate people who have a more pragmatic look at it, right? Things go beyond just policy. Trump plus a Republican Senate would give power to Trump because he would be able to do things on the bench, through the courts, through orders that would affect people's lives. Whereas Harris, yes, she might not be able to pass like big major legislation, but she would at least be able to stymie those hard right conservative moves because they would not be able to affect policy change.
Sure. So what you're arguing for is basically harm reduction versus in 2028, the Democrats having a possibility for a massive win, including potentially a Democrat-led Senate and House supermajority in which they can fix the Supreme Court with the constitutional amendment, right?
I have no idea what 2028 will look like. I have no idea. It all depends on so much, and history is often prologue, but given the last 8 years, I can no longer say that we can look to history to see what would happen, because Donald Trump has effectively changed the party so much that I have no idea what may or may not happen. Like I just don't know, and therefore I'm not willing to take the chance to make people's lives worse simply for the possibility that in 2028, because everybody hates Donald Trump, therefore they're going to elect a House and a Senate that's majorly Democratic plus a new Democratic president, because by then damage could have already been done. Thank you for the galaxy and the glasses.
Right. And my calculus is different. I think that, taking a risk in the next 4 years versus the chance that the almost very little chance that a Republican, not Trump, will win in 2028 with a Harris president that's presidency that's completely ineffective without having the Senate. It seems like in 2028, which is what I really care about, the future, there's almost no chance for a landslide for the Democrats, which is what's necessary to make radical change in this country for progressive policies.
I agree with you, but what it sounds like to me is, and I'm going to make a guess because you're probably in the same category that I am. We are not living where we are actively threatened by the policies that Trump will implement, because we do not see a harm to us that is going to cause problems. Therefore, we are willing to take the chance. I'm not willing to take the chance because I know women, minorities, various immigrant groups, they would be harmed by Trump being president with or without a Senate. And I'm not willing to take that chance simply because I would not be harmed. You would likely not be harmed very much by Donald Trump being in office. But I know plenty of groups who would be harmed by it. And if that means having no major legislation done, but those groups stay safe, then I'm willing to do that because I have no idea what the next 4 years is going to portend, and I can't pretend like I'm going that past is prologue anymore. Like I just can't do it.
Sure, fair enough, but like you're basically like if past is prologue, which like it's not necessarily clear that standard will change in 2028, especially since Trump will be so old, and it may not be him running, and all these sort of things. We like reverting to the mean is probably the expectation. These groups that would be harmed in the next 4 years, we're talking about them being harmed from 2028 onward as well. That's what you're signing up for with the Harris presidency with no Senate.
But once again, right? Policy can be made without the Senate, right? Not like big policy, but it can still be policy, things that can be better. And by the way, but by the way, depending on what the margin is, if in the Senate it's 51-49 or even 52-48, right? Even if that's the case, right? She is much better at negotiation and compromise to be able to get things passed to a Democratic House and a very close Senate, because it depends on what the policy is. There's an entire possibility that they would be able to pass compromise bills within the Senate. Trump would not be able to do that. Trump has shown a disdain for negotiation and overall compromise. Are you there? Oh,
sorry, I was accidentally muted. Yeah, I was saying that. Yeah, that's a very good point. Sorry, I was accidentally muted.
Mute yourself
that's a very good point.
Okay, sorry, I had to mute you. Go out of the app and come back in. So go out of the app and come back in because you have an echo. Okay, now come back into the app. Okay, now unmute.
Okay, I'm back in the app.
Okay.
Is it fixed? Okay.
Hold on.
Yeah, this is a glitchy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to restart anyway because I have like a following thing. So I'll restart. You can come back if you want to. But I still think that I understand your logic, but I don't think it holds up to the threat that Donald Trump poses, because you're putting a lot of hope into 2028. And what I'm saying is I don't know what the next 4 years will be like, so that 2028 may not be as favorable to Democrats as you think that it would be, because of the fact that in 2020 was very unique circumstances. And even then, Democrats within the Senate and within the presidency won by very close margins, very, very close. And so we have to look at it within the president and say, what's the harm reduction right now? Because we don't want things to get worse like the next 4 years. That's where I'm looking at it from.
Right. And yeah, then that's sort of what I said earlier, is that you're looking at it from a harm reduction lens, and I'm looking at it from a moving forward progressive policies in the long-term lens. And so I understand and appreciate your point of view. I think you can probably make stronger predictions than what you're saying about the future in 2028. I mean, it has been an unpredictable several years, but
well, I'll tell you what I told
likely.
somebody. Well, once again, I'll tell you what I told somebody who had a very similar opinion to you. Is you are looking at it in your own microcosm, privileged way, and I'm not saying that in like a bad thing. I'm saying we all do that. I have privilege too, and we're saying, well, a Trump presidency is good in the long term, right? Because Democrats would win, blah, blah, blah. But you're not looking at it in the present about how your vote, should it be for Donald Trump and he wins, would cause harm to people in the present. And I could not live with that because I can't just wake up in the morning and say, oh, well, I know in 4 years things might be better. But as Trump is rounding people up and putting them in camps, as he's passing orders to ban abortion, as he's doing all these things, I still would not feel good knowing that I voted for that simply because in 4 years things might be better.
Absolutely fair. And
that's the point.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
all right. Well,
I understand your viewpoint. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for coming up. I appreciate it. Okay, buddy. I'm going to restart because I think I have a little bit of a following thingy going on. First off, thank you, Devin, for the $5. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Melanie, for the $50. Thank you so much. Voted blue in Georgia. W. Big W for Melanie. Thank you so much. And thank you, Kenna, for the $5. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. I will be right back, everybody. Right back. Please stay here. Please follow me, but I'll be right back, and we will get some more debates going. So I will be right back. Right back. Bad choice. But please only come in if you are voting for Trump, meaning that you will vote for Trump in the future. Hey, what's up? How old are you?
19.
Cool. You voting for Trump?
Yeah, I was going to earlier today, but I'll probably just wait till election day at this point.
Okay. Why are you voting for Trump?
Well, I mean, just generally, I feel like most people's lives are better in 2019 than now. I mean, obviously mine wasn't because I was younger, but just in general. And then I don't support the left's far push for abortion.
Okay, so what by far push for abortion? What do you mean?
Well, like, I mean, we all know it used to be the liberal side was that was going to be safe, legal, and rare, and now it's like just keep pushing it to all 9 months, late term abortions. I mean, leaving.
Where is it legal? Where is it legal all 9 months? Or better yet, where is late term abortions being done like willy nilly?
Well, it's not being done willy nilly, but to be fair, it is being pushed towards that way. And I mean, we're even having like babies that are born being left on the table just to die.
And where is that happening?
That was in Minnesota, of course.
And what's the case?
Well, with the way Walz set up the law there, that you could essentially, if a baby was born, I think with a failed abortion, the doctor could just make it comfortable and just they weren't forced to give it life-saving care, essentially.
Well, you do know that most late-term abortions, well, in fact, all late-term abortions, if you want to call them that, they're not really abortions. What they are is they're a form of delivery, but it's always usually because either the mom's life is in danger or the that unborn a child has like a genetic anomaly or something else going on with it, and it won't survive anyway. So where within the law, within Minnesota, does it say that doctors can just leave them on the table, a perfectly healthy baby, and just let them die?
I don't think it needs to be perfectly healthy. They just aren't required to give it life-saving care.
Yes, but where's that happening at?
Like I said, Minnesota, I believe.
Yeah, but well, okay, but what's the case? Because you said it's happening in Minnesota, but where in Minnesota is it happening? Like what's the case that made it happen? Like, give me the person's name or something where they decided to go in the 8th month and they delivered it and just left it on the table.
I'd have to close out the app and start Googling stuff if you want me to.
Well,
Go
I would
on,
prefer
let's
that
see.
rather than you just kind of like making stuff up because the law doesn't say that. It just gives doctors a lot of room to be able to do what they need to do. But I guarantee you, nobody is taking 8-9 month old babies and just leaving them on the table. That's just not happening.
Yeah, not necessarily that there was a case, but if that's allowed under the law, I would still find that wrong. If that makes sense.
Well,
Can I butt in for a second?
yeah, sure, go ahead.
So just as a woman speaking on this, so that's not happening. If a child is born, that would be illegal. That would be murder if you just killed a baby that was born. You can't do that. There are cases that after, so like if the baby is born with something that is not compatible with life, sometimes the baby will live for a couple minutes, a couple hours, a couple days max. And so some parents decide that's when they want to do an abortion if they have, no possibility of life because they're not compatible with life. And some people decide that they want to take that baby to term and deliver it and spend the last couple minutes with their baby. Both, I think, are, very much up to the mothers. But I think maybe what you're thinking is, so after these babies are born, they, again, that are not compatible with life, they just receive palliative care. So yes, they don't really do anything except for, try to make them comfy, but there's not really much that you can do. And yes, then they pass away. But they're not being just left to fend for themselves and die. Like, that's not happening. I can tell you that right now.
Well, yeah. To be fair, I did put in those terms as well. They were just, made comfortable and just kind of left. They're not being given any life-saving care, of course. They're not being harmed.
Because there's nothing that they can do. Like, these are babies that are born without kidneys or with organs outside their body, or their brain isn't, like, they don't really have a brain, or like, these are things that are not compatible with life.
Yeah, like I said, I would have to close out the app. I'm not sure if I can even still talk at that point. So,
you can go out of the app and look, but what do you, like, I'm telling you that is what is happening as palliative care. They are not just being left to die. Like, that is not happening.
well, yeah, the palliative care is just making them comfortable, correct? That's the way I put it, to be fair.
Yeah. So I don't know, like, this is something that has been brought up by, the far right as terms of just talking points of these babies are, being left to die or whatever. Like, it's just not happening.
Well, they're essentially being left comfortably to die.
Okay, sure. But these are babies that, like, can you imagine how difficult that would be? So I don't understand what the point is with, like, I don't know what your point is with this anyways. Like, this is just a palliative care situation. So what does this have to do with abortion?
Also, too, Jeff, I just want to point out, so since you couldn't get out, I went and looked it up. In the bill's language, it says that infants born in the 8th month, born after, shall be fully recognized as human persons, and that that during the 3rd trimester, that they only happen in the case of severe fetal abnormality or threats to the health of the mother, and that while Minnesota has no gestational limit, current data within the Department of Health shows that only 1 or 2 of these abortions happen per year.
Yeah, so is the abnormality, does that necessarily mean that it has to? And
Severe fetal abnormality, yes.
This is
Meaning
not
a genuine question.
compatible
Die.
with life. Like, that's literally what they define it as, is not compatible with life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what does that entail? Like,
Like,
I mean,
so
Like,
this
no
could be
kidney,
like
no
a baby
lungs.
this could be a baby that's maybe born without kidneys. So you need your kidneys to be able to filter your blood, to be able to filter out toxins and things like that. So like if they are not born with them and, having a baby this young, you can't just, do a transplant, but they also often are not born with other things. Like maybe they're not born with the whole system of the urinary tract like properly formed. So these are things that like you cannot just try to fix. Like if a baby is born and there are things that they can try to do, then that's what they're going to do. But what we're talking about is not compatible with life. So like truly not able to live.
And also, too, I was just to say, no woman is going into the 8th or 9th month of the pregnancy thinking, "Oh, now I want to get rid of my baby." Like it just doesn't happen, right? They are doing it because the baby has no chance to survive, or because their health is in danger. And I guarantee you that if they get to that point, they very much want the child. Like, I'm sorry, but like that's what it is. Like people think that like women are just like willy nilly going out and like getting these abortions in the late, and it's just not happening. Like I'm sorry, like it's just not happening. So
And
the
another
law
thing-
just makes sure that it's allowed to happen.
Another thing is even just looking at cost, like the cost of doing an abortion so late is, I can't remember, I think it was $200,000 just for that type of care alone. There's 6 places within the United States that can perform these type of abortions. And it requires the mother to stay in hospital for at least 1 or 2 days to monitor. Like it is a huge process and it is very expensive. It is very stressful. Like this isn't something that, all doctors can do. Like it is very, very expensive. It is very, very specialized.
Yeah. So Jeff, you may want to look into this more because what you said was just like wrong.
yeah, I will concede on the point of the afterbirth subject. I mean, if we want to go more into just abortion in general, I'd like to talk about that if you'd be willing to.
Go for it.
Yeah, so I mean, just in general, I would say that abortion is just killing babies, and I'm generally opposed to killing babies. And although Trump and Vance, they're not necessarily.
Are you driving?
100%. What do you say?
Are you driving?
No, I'm not.
Well, you got in a car, didn't you?
Yeah, I opened the door, but that would mean the car's not moving.
Okay. Well, don't start driving because then I'll have to kick you.
I'm not driving, man.
So, I mean, when you look at saying, you're opposed to killing babies, sure,
Yeah.
I understand that you're opposed to killing babies. However, like, do you have any limit of time of where it is acceptable to have an abortion?
Well, I would say if it's a human, you shouldn't kill it. Just
Well, I
in
mean,
general.
even a sperm cell is human. So, at what point do you mean it?
Well, I wouldn't say. I believe that life would begin at conception, and
Yeah.
I mean that's a sperm.
Yeah,
A sperm isn't
scientists would
conceived.
agree. So, yeah.
Yeah, a sperm isn't conceived.
No, but you're saying human. I mean, that is human. So, are you saying
Well,
that
it's partly human. It's not. I mean, it cannot be. It's not a human with.
What's the
potential.
other part? What's the other part?
The egg.
No, I mean, you said it's partly human. What's the other part?
The egg.
it,
No, I mean, like a sperm
it's fine.
cell.
It's just cement. It's fine.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I'm just like
what-
wondering, like,
I know.
part like a dog or something.
No, it's just like one part needed to conceive a human.
So, are you saying at conception then, like once?
Once it's
happens.
once it's a human, I would say it's generally wrong to kill humans.
Okay, but that's what we're saying is so at conception then.
Yeah, because that's when it's a human life.
Okay, so if you're saying at conception, so like you are against every single abortion.
I would
You
say
have no exceptions. Then.
I would say just in general, killing what is considered to be human life would be wrong. Yeah.
Are you anti-death penalty?
No, Matt.
What?
Quit.
What?
I'm trying to get somewhere.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead and answer the death penalty one.
Well, we're talking abortion here. I'm not sure what that would have to do with it.
You said that you're against the ending of human life.
Yeah, the unjust ending of human life.
I would consider that unjust if there's people that are proven to not have done.
Yeah. So the death penalty is a hard one because there are plenty of people that are proven to be not guilty. Yeah. So I don't really want to go into that. That doesn't seem to go anywhere.
That's fine. So do you have any exceptions, though, is what I'm asking? Like, if there's rape or incest or whatever, like, do you have any exceptions?
Well, I would just say it's more a general statement. I mean, those are like what?
No, but you need to have,
Hold on.
Okay.
I would say rape is, you can tell me I'm wrong on this. Rape is 1% and then incest was 0.5. It's somewhere around there. They're very low.
Do you have exceptions for that? Yes or no?
You know, I would be open to it, yeah, but I would say I'm more focused on just the 98% of abortions, which are just because the mother doesn't want to have the child.
I mean, it's not necessarily always to do with that.
It's not always, but I mean, 98% of the time, or around there, it's not because of rape or incest.
No, but I'm saying that not all of the time is that the mother just doesn't want the baby. Like, there are things that, for example, for me, I have chronic health conditions. And, like, I mean, I guess in a sense, it's that I wouldn't want the baby, but it's because it would probably kill me. So is that unfair to say that, like, if I were to get pregnant, even after, failed contraception or if there was rape or whatever, like, is that in your eyes acceptable to get an abortion if someone, like, if their body wouldn't be able to handle a pregnancy?
Well, in that case, I would just say if the mother was going to die or be likely to, then I'm open to the idea of it, but still the overwhelming majority would be for reasons other than the mother's going to die, rape or incest. And that's really what I care about more because it is complicated and I would be open to.
But you're saying that you value the life of something that may or may not live. Like,
it's probably gonna live. I mean,
but at conception, it is so likely that is not going to progress to pregnancy. Like, there's miscarriages, there's things that happen before a person even knows that they are pregnant. Like, so if you're saying at conception, there are so many times in which this unborn thing that doesn't have any thoughts or feelings or anything is.
I don't think thoughts and feelings make you a human, right? Like, you can use all these euphemisms like a thing. I would just like to call it a baby or a human. That's what it is.
Well, can we?
And I don't think I don't understand the likelihood, the aspect of likelihood, because I mean, if you're saying it's likely that it could die, there's no point of just going ahead and saying, okay, it's likely to die, let's just kill it now. That doesn't.
No, I'm saying I'm saying that you value something.
I value a human, yes. I do value a human.
What?
I do value humans, yes.
I know, but so you value a cellular organism.
Well,
so like
a human. Let's be fair. Let's call it what it is. It is a human. There's no point of dehumanizing it.
Well, because
you're
I'm
actively dehumanizing
single cell.
a human.
Matt, can you pull up a picture of a zygote?
Sure.
Please.
Please don't do the dolphin thing on me. I'm not falling for it.
No. This is before it even looks like anything like what we would see as looking like a life. Like, I'm talking about cellular life, where it's that. So what
I don't think I have the right to look at something that's a human and say, well, it doesn't look like it to me, you know?
Okay.
Like, if it, to be fair, can you admit to me that I think you already have that it is at conception is a human life?
Yeah, and
So then,
scientists agree as well.
Yeah, so then I would just say we shouldn't be killing human life in
but-
general.
So hear me out. I keep trying to get to the point, but hear me out here. So
I'll stop
what
doing
I'm
this.
saying is, if you value that, which I understand, it is a human life, sure. But what I'm saying is that at that point, what you just looked at, that singular cell organism, which is a human, has more like potential or rights to you than a mother who is living and breathing and currently living a life. Like, I'm saying that yes, they both have life, but I'm saying that one currently is like walking in a part of this world, and one of them has a likelihood of being miscarried or whatever. So that's what I'm saying. Not
Okay.
exceptions
I see what you're saying.
necessarily of rape or incest and stuff. I'm just saying, like,
So would you say there's a hierarchy of human rights? Like, for example, your right to vote might not be as important as your right to life, for example. Like,
Sure.
so I would say, like, sure, the I guess I just don't see. I would say the right to life is the highest on the hierarchy of human rights, and I believe that every human has the right to life, and I don't think that any other rights should go over that.
So, but what I'm saying is that if you have two lives, which life, if you have to choose, gets valued more?
You don't have to choose, because they both can have the right to life.
But I'm saying, so in my circumstance where I may not die, but I will not live a normal life. I will not be able to provide for a child very well. I will not be able to like live happily, or like I live in chronic pain as it is. And this could make my life significantly worse to the point that I couldn't care for this child. And I then, am not really living either. So does something that is a single cell organism, does that have more rights than what I have?
Well, let's say, like, so you're saying that because it may affect your life, which is fair, that you should be able to kill another human? Like, I don't see that. I don't see how that makes sense. Like,
so what about self-defense? Like, if you were attacked by somebody and it was your life or theirs, do you defend yourself or do you let them take your life?
So I'm gonna struggle to see how this analogy is gonna.
Just hear me out. Just play it through.
Okay, I will do it. Yes, if I was violently attacked to another human, I would fend for myself.
Okay, so that is a circumstance where one life, like you are choosing your life.
Yes, where it would be just to kill another life because that life is actively attacking you.
Exactly. Do you know what pregnancy can do to women? Do you know how many women die from pregnancy, or how many women have lifelong issues and things that they never get to recover from, or like
here's my thing, right?
actively attacking them?
Well, it's not actively attacking them in an intentional way.
Is.
So the baby is intentionally attacking, is what you're saying?
Yeah, the mother had to produce cells that were actually form a barrier, because if that doesn't, then the cells from the baby will attack the mother, and the mother's cells will attack the baby, because it's different DNA. So it has to make a barrier that actually will prevent that. Well,
so what we're talking about right now is, let's go back to the attacking example, right? This is someone who is thoughtfully choosing to attack you, right? This is a innocent baby that is going through the natural process to be born. That is completely different, right? Like, if I were to attack one of you guys, that would be...
I'm saying one life or another.
One life or another.
Which matters more?
Well, I already said that I would be open to the idea of if the mother's life is in true danger, I would be open to that. But I was more focused on abortion in the sense that it most likely happens when the woman just doesn't want to have the baby.
Why do some women not get the same rights as other women, or why do some women have to potentially die because what about the 6-year-old that got raped? Like, how is it fair for you to say, well,
this is my thing. You keep having to bring up rape and the women almost dying to make your point.
Laws are made to protect those circumstances where bad things happen, because even though it's only 2 to 5% of cases,
I think it's
right?
lower than that. I think it's lower.
No,
than that.
it doesn't matter. Even if it's not, it's those cases. That is what the law is meant to do. It's meant to protect, because once you have those cases, because by the way, we have new data that came out that shows 65,000 pregnancies, okay? 65,000 pregnancies were caused by grape, okay? Women who got pregnant by grape, 65,000 pregnancies, okay? If somebody should be forced to carry that is wrong, because as I mentioned, that's a violent act. They did not ask for it, right? And laws that stop that, even if it's low probability, 65,000 women, okay, have had that right taken away from them. Okay, like federally. So that's a problem, 65,000. So you have to contend with that. And that's not even adding on the common medical complications that come with every pregnancy that could endanger it, that make doctors scared to death that they may be prosecuted because of these very draconian laws.
Okay, so would you say that I understand your point? And would you say then that if the woman is not raped and she is not going to die, that they should...
I don't value the cell. I have a sentience perspective. So once there's the possibility for sentience, typically around 18 to 26 weeks, then I grant it some rights. But prior to that, it's just a cell.
So you're playing God here, right? Or you get to choose where a life is valuable or not.
No, we don't value these things already, right?
Okay,
we don't value every single cell. We don't value every single zygote, because zygotes are shed. Most of the fertilized eggs are shed by the woman anyway. This is a natural process. We don't cry whenever that happens.
When it's conceived.
yes, that's
that's a
during
zygote.
that time as well.
So,
That's a zygote.
So, I mean, I'm sure you guys have heard this argument all the time, but I still think it is fair that so many times in human history, people have decided to devalue certain groups of humans and dehumanize them. And in a way, you guys are doing that, right? Like, you have already admitted...
No, I'm not saying it's not human. I'm not saying it's not human.
Yeah, so you know it's human, yet you still are trying to bend your way to say that, hey, it's okay to kill it. Sure, if we have to pick between a fully grown human mother and a life or death with a baby, then you can make the argument. But I'm saying...
No, but why though? But why? Because under your analysis, if they are both human persons deserving of rights, how do you balance that? Because the ultimate goal is, if you want to grant them human person rights under the 14th Amendment, okay, how can you balance those two lives? Because you're saying implicitly that one life is better or is more valuable than the other life. That's what you're saying.
I think I can see the point reasonably. Like, I am not an expert in bioethics, or this might just be ethics more generally, but you still cannot give me a good reason why a woman could say, hey, I just don't want the kid, I am going to kill it.
Because there are so many different reasons, and it's not just...
No, but what if the reason is just, I do not want to have it?
So what? If it doesn't have, if it's not sentient...
It's human. No, sentience does not make you human. Being a human makes you human.
Sentience is what we grant rights to. Dead people are still human. Right. Dead people are still human, but yet they don't have rights anymore because they have no sentience. Right?
What you said, that dead people don't have rights?
Dead people are still human, right? But they have no sentience, and we don't grant them the same rights.
Same with brain dead people.
Same with brain dead people, right? We have the ability to pull the
hold on.
plug on them because they have no sentience. Somebody who's brain dead that has no sentience, right? We make that decision for them. We are taking over some of their rights because they cannot make it.
Yeah, and I hate to bring up like cliche talking points here, but because I'm not trying to say all these thoughts on my own, but I do see that like with a baby, right? It may not be sentient, but it will be. So I don't see like if someone was brain dead.
Possibility means nothing to me because most zygotes, as I said, are
it's not
flushed
possibility.
anyway.
It's not possibility.
It is possibility.
It is possibility.
It is
Absolutely.
possibility.
Yeah, but it's the potential that you're taking away.
Potential for there to it's potential that the baby will be able to grow up.
Okay,
But simply because there's potential does not grant it value. Right?
So-
sperm has potential, right? Should I not be allowed to like
hold
pull
on.
out because
Sperm on its own has no potential.
no, hold on, no. Listen, should I not be allowed to pull out because my act of pulling out isn't hindering that sperm's ability for there to be a possibility that it will make it to the egg?
Well, sorry. Can you?
There's a potential that if I don't pull out, that sperm will make it to an egg. So then, should I not be allowed to pull out because if I do, then I'm stopping that potential?
Well, once it's conceived, it is human, and then it must have value, right? Like I don't value.
You don't value sperm
potential.
I don't
because
value your sperm. No offense.
why? Why don't you value my sperm?
Because if I left your sperm through its own natural processes, nothing will happen.
If you left a zygote outside its own natural process,
No.
there's no guarantee that it's going to grow from. Most zygotes are flushed by the woman's uterus. Most zygotes are flushed, so there's no guarantee anyway.
I'm not saying guarantee. Like literally, if I left your sperm to its natural process, nothing would
If
come
you
from
left the sperm without me pulling out, if I did it naturally and I did my thing, right? Naturally, the sperm has a possibility, a potential to make an egg, which then will become a zygote, right? That's the potential. But if I pull out, I am interfering with that process. So therefore, we should make a law saying that men cannot pull out because that is a violation of that potential.
You're not interfering with the process. The process isn't even happening because it hasn't been
No,
conceived.
the whole process is sex, right? That's the process, right? I'm interfering with the natural process of me, and stopping that from happening.
I'm sorry if I raised attention here. I didn't want to.
No,
debate
no,
like this.
no, it's okay. See, what we're doing is we're saying your point at which you grant value
Is that conception?
is just as arbitrary as ours is because you don't grant rights to people that have no sentience, to people who are dead, to sperm cells, to anything like that.
I do grant rights to people without sentience. Like there are people who are brain dead and they do come back. So I wouldn't
when you're
grant
brain
them.
dead, it is impossible.
Brain
to
dead,
come
it's
back.
impossible.
Sorry, I meant coma. Sorry.
That's not what we're talking
Coma
about.
is very different. Coma is very different.
Well, like, what do you say about the situations where people are saying like you can pull the plug on them and the family decides not to, and then that person comes back.
Well,
That's not
comas
brain
are
dead.
different.
But why are they being given being given the ability to pull the plug?
Because for brain dead people,
And this is genuine. This is a genuine question.
Yeah.
Like I'm not trying to get away with this.
For brain dead people, what they do is they have, I think, like 3 different very specific tests that they have to run over the course of like at least 24 hours. I think it's like 48 to 36 or something hours, maybe even longer, where they check the brain activity. So if there's 0 brain activity, which means that a person cannot breathe on their own, they cannot eat on their own, they cannot do anything on their own, their brain no longer functions. And at that point, the brain is no longer ever able to come back. And so when they check these things, they are checking and checking and checking to make sure that they aren't wrong on that. And so like they are truly brain dead. They are never coming back type of situation.
I'm really trying to be genuine with you guys. Aren't there situations where families are given the option to pull the plug and they choose not to, and then that person
Yes.
eventually gain sentience back?
No. So
that doesn't happen?
No. So in terms of like if they decide not to pull the plug, which is, typically within the family's right to do,
Yeah.
unless there's, in a will or something of the person when they were sentient that they said that they didn't want that type of thing. Then the person goes on living on machines. So there's a machine that's breathing for them. They have round the clock care, that, they cannot defecate or urinate, just like by themselves necessarily. So they have to get catheterized and things like that. So there's a lot of different factors within it. But at some point, it costs thousands and thousands of dollars a day. So at some point, the family runs out of money typically. So at some point, they will end up pulling the plug. And it's usually more so like time for the family to grieve and kind of wrap their minds around the horrible thing that's happened. But when a person is in a coma, that just means that like the person is still sentient. So their brain is still working. So like some people can still breathe on their own. Some people may need help, things like that. But when they're in a coma, their brain is still producing electrical signals and electrical activity, which means that like they can wake up. But when your brain has no electrical activity whatsoever, there's nothing functioning there. And our brain is unfortunately not able to restart itself, basically. So once it reaches that point, the only thing able to, like, the only reason that it's alive is through these machines. And when you turn them off, that person, like, it might take an hour, might take a couple minutes, but this person will die because their body cannot sustain itself without the brain being able to tell it what to do.
Okay. So
look up the famous case of Terry Schiavo. It was a big cause, big issue in the early 2000s, right? I mean, that's a classic example of someone that had brain damage, and without the feeding tube, without the life support, they would not survive. The doctors wanted to pull the plug, but the family was divided. The parents wanted to keep her on the life support. The husband did not. There was a big legal battle, and ultimately they pulled the life support, and she died. Right? It's a famous case, and it directly shows that she was on life support for years, and she was racking up so much debt because of this that it was not possible that she would come back. That's an example that we're talking about of someone who's not even totally brain dead. They just have brain damage, and we still have to make these calls.
So you have a computer in front of you, correct?
Yes.
He's
Why?
probably looking up a thing. Hold on. We're telling you to look up one.
This will be the last one that I'm gonna restart.
Yeah.
You look up Trenton McKinley for me. And I'm really not trying to get a gotcha with this. Like I'm generally trying to have a discussion here.
Trent
Good.
McKinley.
I can tell that
Trenton McKinley.
you seem to
Trenton.
be
Yeah.
genuine. So, though I may not agree with you, at least this has been a decent conversation. So,
From what I've seen, he was pronounced brain dead, and they were like a day away from his organs being harvested, and then he came back.
So not brain dead. He had severe brain trauma. So, but like once again, that's not my point, right? Is that having severe brain trauma does not mean brain dead, right? I mean, and again, one case of somebody come back does not negate the fact that we have to make these difficult decisions, right?
Yeah.
Because the parents thought, with good reason, that their son would not make it because he had these a brain trauma, but he was still had active brain. So
yeah, so he wasn't actually brain dead versus the ones that I was talking about.
That's why I had you look it up, because I'm reading some article here.
Just so you know, we can't hear you when you're out of the app, just so you know.
Okay, yeah, so I just looked it up on the fly. That's why I had you guys.
I mean, and it says that he was in a coma. So, I mean, again, that's different than like being brain dead.
Yeah, so when you're brain dead, like it truly means there's no electrical activity, and that's when they do multiple tests. There's many things that they test to ensure that that's the case, so that they're not making those mistakes, because that's obviously not a mistake that we want to make. So this was just kind of an example of a point that this human being, because it's very much a human being, is not sentient, and it doesn't, we don't grant it the same rights, and it's never going to be sentient again.
So would you, it just feels to me like you guys have had this argument so many times that you guys have a way of stating what you give human rights that's so specific, and it's a way to kind of deflect. To me, would you be okay with changing human rights to sentient rights? I'm sure you would be.
No,
I don't,
because human rights has a very defined meaning.
Right, because it's generally if you're human, and we know that you will be sentient, that we wouldn't kill you. That's generally I don't see what's wrong with that.
But if you're not sentient,
well, I mean, I don't grant, I'm not going to decide who has rights and who doesn't. If I would say if you're a human life and you're alive, then you have human rights. And I wouldn't jump through all the hoops to try to make it okay. I would just say, here's an alive human. There is no reason to unjustly kill it.
So that's where my question stands, is for this brain dead person.
Well, it's not brain. Well, sorry.
No, I'm talking. I'm talking specifically about a brain dead person.
Yeah.
So it's a human life. It's alive. It's living. And you're saying that you wouldn't unjustly let it die.
Well, I think there's that's a complicated question for me. There's lots to be said about a lot of people do deny the idea that essentially we're a brain and a body. We haven't found consciousness in the brain, and this is kind of a long-winded thing to say, but so there is a argument against the idea that we are just our brain. Our consciousness could be our entire, throughout our body. It could be the whole system, because consciousness has not been discovered in the brain. So,
but I mean, we're saying, I'm saying that this brain dead person who cannot function on its own, you are saying that you grant every human the same human rights, and that no human should be unalived. So I'm asking, that's why I'm asking, would you, is it okay to pull the plug on a brain dead person, or should that also be illegal? Because that's also a human being that's alive.
Yeah, I would say that if it's with the family, everyone, if you said, brain dead means there's 100% chance that they will never gain sentience or consciousness, then yeah, I would agree that they should have that right, because it'd be unfair to them to make them pay them.
Yeah, once again, we're not saying that we need to make the decision for the family.
No,
right?
I know that.
They should have the
I
right
do think
to
that
do
they have
it,
that right.
right? No person should be told, right, that their family member who just died or just became brain dead, right, that at that exact moment they had to pull a plug or something, right? That's not what we're saying. We're saying that the right should be there in the same way that the right to have an abortion within the first or possibly even second trimester and up to it for medical conditions, things like that, should be a right that is protected. Not that people have these hard boundaries that must be a thing. It's that people should be allowed to make the decision on their own, because they know the decision the best, because it's directly impacting them.
So would you guys then say if the baby has brain activity, then you shouldn't be able to unalive it at that point?
As long as there's
no
there's not a fetal abnormality that wouldn't allow them to live, or the mother.
When is brain activity seen?
Typically, I do a precautionary, so I take it usually around 18 months, or 18 weeks, so about 18 to 26 weeks, usually.
So then you guys are against abortion after that? Unless,
no, I'm against abortion.
Elective abortion, in the sense
I provide the fetus then some rights, not all rights, because once again, if later on the mother's life is in danger, or if the fetus has abnormalities or something, then things can be taken. But after we know when sentience starts to arise, then rights become more apparent.
See, that's like so. I just see an issue with you granting, taking away, asserting when people and when they don't have rights. Like,
We
to
already
me,
do that. We already do that for like multiple people, so it's no different.
well, like who?
Prisoners, dead people, who are brain dead,
Children.
all children. They don't have rights as like we do, right? Children can't make their own decisions.
Well, they can make some.
Yeah, but they don't have the same rights as.
But they don't have the same, right? They don't have the
but
same
like,
rights.
like we already talked about, like there is a hierarchy of rights clearly. And I would say the right to life is would you say the right to life is the most basic human right? I don't see one more basic. I wouldn't say.
Well, a right to life is basic for those that are sentient. Yes, like for you,
see, that's
Jeff.
what I think. Like you have to like. To me, it just seems like you're
no, because
wording
sentience
things
is
in such a
everything.
way
the same
that-
thing.
Sentience is everything, though. Without sentience, we are just blobs of meat.
Well, if you know it will be sentient, that's like
Once
I
again,
guess we have to go back to
we
the
already
potential
had
thing.
we already had this conversation about potential.
I guess that's where I'm hung up. That's where I'm hung
Potential
up
means
then.
nothing to me because so many things in life have potential, and yet we still. Because Jeff, when you have SEX, I assume that you probably use protection. That is interfering with potential because there is a natural process that is to be done by the natural order of things, and you as a human are making the decision to interfere with that potential. Because if everything was left to how it was in nature, right, you would do your business and a potential embryo would form. But you have decided to interfere with that potential.
I guess we have to dive back into this scenario again because it's a pretty clear way to talk about it, even though I'd rather not. But so when you pull out, right? There's no potential there. Like once
There
you're
is potential.
Hold
No,
on.
there-
Okay.
because there's-
let's scrap that one. Let's scrap that one for a second. We'll table that for now. What about people that are on birth control? So like typically women that are on birth control.
So my thing is once it's a human scientifically at conception, then I would say that killing at that point is abortion, no matter how it's done.
No. But I'm saying prior, because we're talking about potential, and
Once it's conceived, then I grant it. Then I grant that it's potential.
So what if the mother that is carrying this fetus has the potential to save hundreds of babies because, they're going into some sort of research study that they've found a cure for something or something like that. So what about the potential for the mother to do something like that? Or then we have this potential of this living human, but that is a cellular organism at this point, that is truly just a matter of 2 to 3 to 4 cells, countable cells that you can visually see.
I just don't see why you're trying to make it out to be anything trying to describe it as anything.
Because you're talking about potential. So we're trying to.
But so with your argument of if they had the potential to save with the research, whatever, if she had a kid that was out of her womb, then she couldn't, if that was inhibiting her, then she couldn't kill it. But I don't see, it's still a human either way, right? So, regardless of the fact that
the potential of this thing to gain sentience.
Well, I wouldn't. Can we just call it human? Because I just don't like the dehumanization words.
How about fetus? Because fetus is still human.
I can do that. I can do that.
Okay, I can concede with that. Fetus is fine. You can still call it human, but I'm going to call it a fetus.
That's fair.
Okay. So, I'm saying that this fetus that isn't sentient, I'm saying, sure, it has the potential to become sentient, but it has.
Well, it will. It will.
No,
I mean,
no.
more than likely.
We don't know that, though. The
unless something goes wrong,
miscarriage itself is very high.
It's high, but more than likely it will become sentient.
And
Once
Okay,
again,
so-
potential.
Well, if you like, you can say potential, but if you just, it's more just a matter of time.
But-
if you just leave it to its natural process, it will become sentient more than likely.
And what about more than likely this one fetus is born and there's one more baby, or more than likely this woman could save 100 babies and
Well,
not have
that's
this
like
fetus?
saying, what if this baby you're aborting will like solve some world problem, or you cure cancer? Like,
But that's
we're
why,
getting-
like, because we're talking about potential.
it
Also could be the next Hitler, by the way.
Yeah, that's why I don't use that point, because I find it.
But that's why we're talking about potential. That's why we're trying to break down this potential portion.
Well,
How about
we're
like,
kind of hung up on this here. I just see it as like, if you just leave it to its natural process, more than likely it will become sentient.
Well, we'll have to come back to this anyway because
Wait,
I
yeah,
mean,
I just want one more question.
Okay, we're kind of getting stuck
I
here.
just have one more question. Sorry, Matt. If you like, so are you saying that you want like laws, right? Like you want federal protection, like with abortion stuff? Or are you just morally feeling this way? Like, are you talking laws or are you talking morals?
Well, I would just start with the fact that it's morally wrong. I mean, how it could be implemented politically. I mean, I'm not sure the repercussions of doing it certain ways, because.
Well, so
I
that's where my question, I guess, stands. Like, you can be pro-life yourself. That is fine. But if you are going to, like, the problem with a Donald Trump presidency.
Well, to be fair, I don't even agree with him and Vance on their. I mean, they don't seem to necessarily be pro-life.
Yeah, they're not. They're just trying to cater to people. But my point
Yeah.
is if it
I agree with
goes
that.
a route that, you know, you said that you don't like Democrats in the way that they are so far off on these topics, right?
Can you accept the fact that they have moved pretty far from where they were, let's say, 20 years ago? Or
Sure,
even
sure.
Hillary Clinton, right? Like in, what was it, 2008? She ran on abortions being safe, legal, and rare. And
Sure.
you would like, you guys disagree with
But my
how
point,
the consensus was 15 years ago.
Sure, but that's not quite my point. My point is that if we elect somebody that is going to put more restrictions on abortion, so this is where I'm talking about legislation versus morals, because when you're talking morals, like that is your own thoughts and feelings and opinions, right? But when we're talking laws, I can bring up countless different articles about women who have died because of these laws. So where I have the problem is when they start legislating on women's bodies, or like, you know, going and making laws about what happens between a patient and a doctor. That's where I have issues. So that's where I'm saying laws versus morals.
Yeah, well, I would just say that, like, it's kind of hard to just say you can have your own morals, because, like, I mean, I'm not going to compare them necessarily, but, like, you don't want people out there on the streets doing meth, and this is not to compare meth.
Oh, well,
Just in
Matt,
general, you
sorry,
don't want, like,
you can't say that word.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
What do you say? Sorry, I wasn't.
He said a drug.
Oh, well, yeah, okay. But luckily he's off. Jeff, you can come back later if you want to, but I'm going to restart. So, okay. Okay, buddy. I will see you all very shortly. I'll give it probably about 1 or 2 minutes, and I'll be back. And thank you, Gloriani, for the $20. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I will see you all very shortly. Hey, how y'all doing? Welcome back. Welcome back. We'll be on for about another hour or so. Tap screen, everybody. Tap screen. Let's see if we can get up to about 20,000 likes as I said, we'll be on for another maybe hour or so. We'll be throwing in some debates. If you are a Trump supporter, hop in the guest box and we'll debate tonight. If you are voting for Trump, hop in and we shall talk. Please only be in the guest box if you are a Trump supporter and you're voting for Donald Trump. But continue to tap screen and let's get somebody up here. Nice. Are you voting for Trump?
Yeah, I plan on it. I got a question for you about your abortion. I caught the last half of your abortion argument.
Sure. What's up?
Okay, so I guess just clarify. At what point do you place value upon the fetus?
I mean, like value starts usually around whenever Sentience starts. So anywhere from 18 to 26 weeks.
Okay, so 17 weeks, no brain waves, there would be no sentience. You would place absolutely zero value upon that, correct?
I mean, my hard cutoff is not like 18 weeks. I just started because that's what the research has. I mean, sure, like 17 weeks. If it's 17 weeks, then yeah. I mean, by that logic, yes, I would say that it has no rights. But once again, that's because the research has shown that 18 to 26, and I'm even granting it a conservative like estimate because some people even say that it doesn't start until like 21 weeks, but I'm going back to 18. So I'm already granting it like back farther than some people even will.
Yeah. So I'm going to use this for my argument, I guess. So like say a doctor would say there was no brain waves and it was at 17 weeks, there was no brain waves, no nothing, no sentient, like you could prove that. You would place zero value upon that, right?
Sure.
So can you explain to me what your definition of no value is?
I mean, value in the sense of like I don't grant it rights. So I don't grant it value in the sense that this is something that needs to be protected, in the sense of that its value overrides the value of like something else. Because you and I have equal value. You have the equal amount of rights under the 14th Amendment that I do. Your value is equal to mine. It doesn't outweigh. And it's not less than, right? Whereas something as like a fetus has less value because of the fact that it is not sentient yet. It does not have the same rights or value that I or even you have.
Yeah, okay. I see what you're saying. So let's say at 17 weeks, you place zero value upon it. Okay, let's say, I'll give you a hypothetical. Let's say there's a nutritionist that comes out and says, listen, there is all sorts of nutritional value from taking this fetus out and grinding it up and putting it in our food. Would you have a moral issue with that? Why and why not?
Define fetus. What's the
17 weeks, no value is what you place on. So
if the fetus is out of the body at 17 weeks, it's not going to survive anyway. So theoretically, if somebody wanted to grind it up and everything, I would be against that because I'm against cannibalism. So I would be against it on that front.
Can you define cannibalism for me?
The eating of human flesh.
Yeah, so you would then call that fetus would be a human at that point.
I never denied that it wasn't human.
So you're saying that you would have no moral issue, or you would have a moral issue with eating it, but no moral issue with unaliving it.
I just said no, because unaliving it is because it's not sentient, so it has no value to me to unalive it. But when you're eating it, there's two partners, not just not just what is being eaten, but the person eating it. That's the immoral act. Is the person eating it? They are doing the immoral act because I see the eating of human flesh is wrong.
Yeah, but you place zero value upon it. So if you would say that eating is wrong, you'd then be placing value upon it.
But it doesn't matter whether or not the thing has value. The very act that's immoral to me. The very act of eating human flesh is wrong. Like if I was to like chop off my arm right now, right? Or if I was to get like a human arm and I would just like eat that arm, that's still
you're a living sentient human being. That's why it would be wrong.
Yes, because I'm making that decision.
So explain to me how it would be wrong to do that to something that wasn't sentient and had no value.
Because I'm against the very act in of itself, Not against. I don't care if it's a fetus. I don't care if it's an adult. I don't care if it's a dead person, right? Like if someone wanted to eat a dead person, right? They have no rights like
They had
anymore.
past sentience though,
They're
because that's what
dead.
you value, right? You value past sentience, correct?
I
They
value
had past
sentience, yes, but
past, present, and future,
once
right?
again, I'm the thing being done is not the object, but the person doing the act. The
Yes,
act
but
itself is immoral.
I think that we still find a contradictive point here, in my opinion, and I understand you not agreeing with it. But to me, in my personal opinion, we would come to a halt here at a contradiction.
Which is what?
Because in my head, I guess explain to me how I'm wrong, and I will listen. But in my head, if you're perfectly okay with unaliving something and placing no value upon it, the same way that you would have, I feel like you would also have to hold the stance like if it's no value and and you don't consider it a human body with human rights, like I think a human, like if you're a human, you should have human rights. So if you're not granting the same human rights to something, then you'd also have to hold the moral stance that it would be okay for somebody to eat that.
Or no, human rights is not a one thing. There's a list of human rights, right? I'm not saying it's not human. I don't say that it has no rights. I'm saying its value and its rights are less than what the person gives, and that's why I don't care whether or not it is unalive because it has no sentience. The same thing applies to dead people, right? When people die, when they have no brain function, they are dead and in the ground. They no longer have rights. Right? There are things that we can say that are customarily wrong, right? For example, having SCX for the dead person is wrong, right? I mean, it's wrong from a philosophical moral ground about why it's wrong, but you're not violating the rights of the dead person because there's no sentience there. There's nothing there to violate, right? But I'm giving you an argument from the person doing it, not from the object on which it's being done.
But you would value for the person that would be dead, you would value the past sentience from that person.
Yes, the memory of that person I value, right? They were a human person that lived a life, had a family, did things, had an impact on the world. That is what I value, right? But the actual body, the actual decaying body, I don't value anymore. But their memory, I value.
So what do you value from the fetus that would stop you from doing that?
The fetus has had no past sentience. It's just a blob of cells. There's nothing there to value.
So what would be the moral problem then with acting and eating it?
Because I'm against cannibalism.
Okay, yes,
within the act. Because once again, I don't care if it's sentient or non-sentient. If it's a human thing, right, the act of eating it is immoral. Because I find it repulsive. I think it has a aesthetic to it that is just bad. But but once again, the object itself I don't care about. The act, that's what I'm focusing on, right? I don't care that they're eating a fetus. What I care about is that the person wants to eat the fetus. That's the problem.
But you would have to prove how that would be worse than unaliving it, is my point.
Because to eat it, you have to unalive it anyway. Or if you're taking out a fetus at that point, then it's already dead.
Worst case scenario.
Then it's already dead. But once again, the act of unaliving it, right? Because it has no sentience, it doesn't have a value to me because it has no past sentience. It doesn't have anything that I care about, right? But that's because I'm not valuing the object, right? But the person doing anything to the fetus that is morally questionable, that's what I value, right? The person, let's say, for example, the person took the fetus afterwards, right? They had an abortion and they like strung it up, right? And they put it on like a weird display and they were like taking videos and like mocking it and stuff, right? That is immoral to me too. Why? Not because the fetus, right, cares about it. It's dead. It has no value. It doesn't care. It's because it's an aesthetic bad thing to do. Like there's no value in doing that act except to be be like edgy or something, right? So that act is wrong. But I'm not granting value to the fetus in of itself. It's just that the act itself is wrong. You could do things with the fetus or with a dead body that are wrong, even if I don't value that.
So would you say it would be wrong to, let's say, break off a tree branch and string it up and cook it over a fire?
No, because plant life cannot in any form of way have any sentience because of the fact that they lack neural networks. They don't have a central brain system. They have nothing that gives them consciousness.
So
I value.
What sentience are you valuing in the
I
fetus?
like trees. I like plants. Right. I mean, I like looking at them. Right. But if you're telling me that should it be immoral for me to step on a head of cabbage because that head of cabbage might be valuable? No, it's a head of cabbage. Like, it doesn't matter.
You would place more value upon a fetus than a head of cabbage.
Yes. Why? Because the fetus.
So it does have value then.
Yes, because at no stage, can the plant have sentience.
So what are we valuing here then? Like
sentience.
Yeah, okay. So you're valuing. So you first told me that you place no value upon a fetus. Now you're saying it's more valuable than a head of cabbage, which would place value upon it, right or wrong?
No, well, yes, because of the fact that later on, because you're not telling me that some plant, like if you gave me like a fetus, right, that was 6 weeks old, okay, and a tree branch, okay, at that point they both have no value to me, right? But if you gave me like a tree branch and an 18-week-old fetus, then that fetus has some value. Why? Because it has the potential at that point for sentience. And then if you gave me a 30-week fetus, that has more value than a tree branch because now it's likely has a fully formed brain and all this other stuff, right? Value, it grows incrementally. At no point can a tree branch gain value on the same level because it can never gain sentience. It is biologically impossible.
So you're saying that you would still be okay with having an abortion with a fetus that would have value?
Once the fetus has value to me, I grant it some rights, and therefore I limit the abortions. So after 18 to 20 weeks, right, then I say that all elective abortions are basically out the window, except if the person is in medical danger, and I grant that a very wide berth, or if the fetus has like bad abnormalities. Even grape, I would like allow, say like a woman was raped and it was like 20 weeks. Even that, theoretically on like a self-defense thing, I can grant. But after 18 weeks, 18 to 26 weeks, then it has some value to me. It has rights. It has some rights. Not as much rights as the a woman who's carrying it, but it does have some rights.
Okay. I want to clarify for people listening. I 100% agree that women should have access to abortion. I just enjoy arguing this topic because I think that it has some contradictions to it. And I think morally speaking, I don't think a lot of people understand how they actually feel on it. But I 100% believe that there should be access to abortion for women's health care under the fact that, rape, incest, and life of the mother. 100% agree with that. But I do think that this is a contradictive point, and I will do more research on it. I appreciate your input on it. I'm a big fan, Matt.
Once again, I'm not saying, right? Because we all do this. Nobody grants value to a 3-week-old zygote, right? Because the human body zygotes are flushed anyway, and nobody cares, right? People don't, hold like big funerals for it or anything, right? Whereas a 6-week zygote has maybe a tiny bit of value, but its value is so little compared to the woman, like so little.
And I can agree with that. I got one last question for you, I guess, before I get off. You said that, okay, let's just talk about, let's say somebody is in a coma. Let's say that the doctor comes in and tells you that this person is in a coma. They're going to have absolutely no memory of anything that ever happened to them past this coma when they wake up. But they are guaranteed to wake up in 9 months. Is it okay to pull the plug on that person?
If they're guaranteed to wake up in 9 months?
They've got a 95% chance of waking up in 9 months, and the doctor tells you that when they wake up, they're going to be like a newborn child. They're not going to have any past sentience or any past remembrance of anything that has ever happened. And that's a guarantee because their brain has completely started over. And they're not going to know you, your family. They're not going to know anybody. Why would it be wrong to pull the plug on that person? I would say it would be
you're
wrong
mixing up sentience with like memories. They have past sentience because they were alive at that point, but they have no memory of that sentience. That's the difference.
So if
right, because like say somebody who's 20 years old, right, and they go into coma, 9 months later they're going to come out with a 95% certainty, but they have no remembrance of their past life, right? That doesn't mean that they weren't past sentient. It just means that they have no memory of it, but everybody around them knows it. They have still had an effect on the world, so they still have past sentience. It's just that they don't remember that past sentience.
Okay, I'll go a step farther. Let's say they was involved in a plane crash that had everyone that they've ever knew in their life on it, and they was the only one that survived. And nobody in this world was going to know who they was or know anything about them except their social security number. Why would it be wrong to pull the plug?
Because past sentience is not dependent on some kind of person looking into it. Even though that person may not remember, them being in a coma, the very act of them being in a coma means that at some point they had past sentience. Because to be in a coma means you lack sentience that was once sentient, right? Because that's the whole definition of a coma. So that's the point. Is that if you had a fetus that was, I don't know what, like 8 weeks old or something, right? And it was put into a tank, right? And then you gave the second question. That's the case because that fetus had no sentience. There was nothing, there was no brain, that there was nothing that gave it sentience. Whereas the person, even if they don't remember it, even if everybody on Earth was gone, they still had sentience because to have a coma means to have past sentience. By its very definition.
Okay, I can agree with that. I think it's a valid point. One question about Kamala. How do you feel about her truancy situation that she had going on in California?
I mean, I think truancy was a problem. I think people are harping on it now, but if it was a Republican who had done it, they probably would have been like, "Yay!" I'm glad that like you're doing it because maybe she was too heavy-handed with it. I don't know, but I think she was doing what people wanted her to do, which was to crack down on high truancy rates. And if that means going after parents who were neglecting their children by just letting them do whatever the hell they want, then I'm not against that because people have said for a long time we want strong law and order. We want people to to do the right thing. But then once she actually did that and she actually was a conservative, strong prosecutor, then people were like, no, I don't want that. Like you have to make up your mind. Like do you want strong law and order or do you not want it?
Well, I just think that I don't know if you've listened to her speeches she had over that time. I think some of the things that she said was just very. I wouldn't say that they would be things that people should say in political like points of power because she was saying with one swipe of my pen I can put you in prison. Okay, do you agree? Okay, I got one last argument, then I'll hop off here. What would be your if someone told you they're voting for Trump because he's a good businessman, what would be your argument against that? Do you have the same talking point that Parker and Dean have?
What, like 6 bankruptcies?
The 6 bankruptcies, yeah.
I mean, that's what I would say. I would say, well, 6 bankruptcies, but also he's failed in so many of his things. But also, he got a major, a donation from his dad. I mean, people who get millions of dollars from their parents are likely to be successful anyway. I mean, I'm not denying that like he has started businesses and has like Trump hotels and stuff, right? I'm not saying that that's a bad thing or anything, right? I'm saying though he's not like this grand poobah of like businesses because Bill Gates is a better businessman, right? But the people on the right are not going to vote for Bill Gates, right? Even though he's a better businessman. I think he should have $1.
Bill Gates would run, I would say he probably would have some success, but I mean,
not on the right? I mean, the people who are supporting the very people who are supporting Trump and saying he's a great businessman would never support Bill Gates and make that argument because it's not about being a business. What it's really about is Trump. Because if they cared about like businessmen, then they would have supported like Michael Bloomberg or something, right? Because he's a better businessman.
I actually would say, I mean, I would this is kind of not have anything to do with what we're talking about. I would vote for Ben Carson over Donald Trump, but that's just my opinion if he would run again. But back on Trump's bankruptcies, they were all Chapter 11. Do you know, do you understand what Chapter 11 bankruptcies are?
Not really, but I've heard it. But
what the Bureau of I'll find the link and I can send it to you. When they investigated his bankruptcy, what they found out is that Trump had nothing to do with these business. Like he was in charge, like he was the owner, as I guess as you would say, but nothing that he did or nothing that he would have been impacted on would have had anything to do with the company filing bankruptcy. Like he could have done absolutely zero different. Basically, it was just to liquefy his company when he filed bankruptcy.
I mean, like once again, even if I take out the bankruptcy argument, right? Even if I take that out, right? There are still many people who are better businessmen than he was, and these people didn't support those businessmen because they were great businessmen, right? This is just a talking point that is brought up to try to justify why they're voting for Trump, but they wouldn't use it for any other businessman who is better than Donald Trump, right? Because they don't really care about the business. And plus I would say, Trump has a history of like not paying people, he's anti-union. He has all these other things that I dislike for being in business. And so people, I think, use that as saying, well, he's successful, therefore he must be good. And no, being successful in business does not correlate to being successful within government.
You guys died at a 50% higher rate.
Ironic when I think that your body.
Okay, you say that Trump didn't pay people and that he was racist towards, which I agree that he's had a racist past. But I could also say this about you. You guys talk about Joe Biden had a racist past, but he's done things over time to apologize for that and try to do better, right? You would say that?
Yes. Joe Biden has actively apologized for the things that he's done in his past.
So like he's actively apologized for going against busing. And what year was it? 70s? Was that in the 70s?
Yeah. Like the very early 70s, I think.
When he said that he didn't want his kids to grow up in a racial jungle because that's what busing would do. Like he was against desensitization.
There's a full quote. Like it wasn't just that in isolation. There was a full quote about what he was saying. He said he didn't want it to become like a racial jungle, and then he went on. But that was bad language. He shouldn't have said that, right? He shouldn't have said that. And he apologized for all that. And he's trying to make amends today. That's different than Donald Trump. Donald Trump has repeatedly, up to the present day, made statements that are racist or racist adjunct, right? And he never apologizes. If he had changed his behavior and apologized for the things he said in the past, then we wouldn't use this argument, right? But even to this day, he continually courts people who are racist, and he says things that are racist, and that's why we say yes, he's a racist because he doubled down on. So I'm not going, and that's different than Joe Biden, because Joe Biden at least has apologized and changed his behavior on it.
So, minus what I'm sure you would consider, what has Trump done to be racist to the American people since 2016? Like, what is one example that he would have did something that would have obviously favored one race over another in his presidency?
Not just actions are not just what makes somebody somebody racist, but also what he says. So the way that he talks about people who are Hispanic, for example, that's one. The way that he talks about black people, I mean, he constantly questions people's race and whether or not they're really this or that. It's mostly in what he says, right? And I don't think that he actually cares about it, right? That he actually cares about it. I think people in his administration, right, are the ones who pushed him to do these policies. For example, like the HBCUs. I don't think Trump can even tell you what an HBCU is, right? I think he just said, oh, this is a policy that people like and everything, therefore I'm going to go for it, because he goes for the policies that people like, he'll change on a whim. And so I think, but the way that he talks about these groups is racist. That's the problem.
Okay, so how can you convince me that Kamala isn't just trying to get in power whenever her running mate was her and Joe Biden ran for presidency, but in the 2016 Democratic primaries, or 2020 primaries, I'm not sure which year this was, she got on the stage and basically, without saying it out loud, called Joe Biden a racist for not supporting
No,
busing.
she literally said, "Joe, I don't think you're a racist." She said that
Yes,
to his
but
face.
then she then said that he did something that was racist in the eyes of a lot of people. So it's kind of a contradiction from
Well,
her.
no, you can you cannot be racist, but do a racist thing if you are, because white people are like oblivious to this. Like Joe Biden being that old, I mean, he was probably just freaking oblivious, right? But she believes that Joe Biden, in his current state, is not racist. And I believe that in his current state, he's probably not racist. Back then, he may have been racist, right? I mean, back then he may have had, very bigoted opinions, right? But she said, you are not a racist, but the policy that you implemented had a negative thing.
So why
on the
would
black
she have brought
community.
that up in front of the Democratic Party?
Because they were in a primary.
Yeah.
She wanted to win the primary. So you're going to attack your opponent on their weaknesses, and race in the 70s was one of his weaknesses.
So she obviously still thought that it was a valid talking point because she brought it up, which means that she would have had, at that point in time, if she was an honest person, she would have had some concerns about his past mistakes that he made.
No, because he apologized for it. She has accepted that apology. She has moved on. Because once again, what we care about is apologizing and willing to change the behavior and move on. Joe Biden did that. If Joe Biden had said to Harris, "I don't think I'm racist, you're just being a sissy, and I'm going to continue to be defiant in my old age," then it's a different scenario. Right? But that's not what he did. He apologized to her, to the black community. He said, "I want to do better. Let me do better. Make me president, and I will be a champion for black individuals." And that's what he's been doing. And by selecting Harris, he has made that a focal point because he has somebody who's his number two who is from the community.
Yeah. I guess we're just going to have to agree to disagree. One last question, then I'll hop off here. I don't want to hold you up too long. If there would have been another primary, would have Kamala been your first option after Joe Biden?
Depends on who's running.
Who would have been
if it was Harris versus like Joe Manchin, then yes, Harris. If it was Harris versus like Bernie Sanders, then it would have been a Bernie Sanders.
Actually, believe it or not, I don't mind Bernie Sanders. I think he's a sweet old man.
I like Bernie Sanders too, but it depends on who would be running against her. I think she is the best option out of the choices that we had. Right? She's better than Joe Biden because Joe Biden is old and just I'm afraid that like he won't be able to do his job in the next 4 years. And Trump is also old and senile and going crazy, and he's a crazy authoritarian and all this other shit. So whereas Harris is youngish, I think she's like in what, like 50 something or like 60 something.
I think she's 59.
Yeah, 59. Okay, so she's youngish, she's vibrant, she's liberal, but she's also pragmatic. So she's willing to work across the aisle. She doesn't speak in language that is offensive or just completely off the rails. She doesn't talk about, battery sharks and whales and windmills and shit. She on the whole is a better candidate than Donald Trump is. That's why I'm voting for her. If she had said the same thing as Donald Trump, believed some of the same thing that Donald Trump did, then I probably wouldn't be supporting her, and I would do like a write-in candidate or something. But she is the best candidate for the job right now.
Okay,
that's why I support her.
I can respect that. Well, I appreciate you letting me talk, Matt.
Thanks a lot. Okay. Yep. Thanks a lot. Have a good one. Okay, everybody. I'm actually going to end it right now, only because I'm kind of getting a little tired and I don't feel that great. I may be back later on tonight. To just do like a Q&A live, just to have some fun. We can just have some fun and everything. Because I have a wicked following glitch, everybody. I got a wicked following glitch, so it's messing with my live. So I will be back tomorrow and Sunday, so don't worry. But I just want to take some time to myself tonight, and then I will try to be back later on tonight, and we can chat and just have some fun and maybe do some battles or something, just some fun stuff. So, okay, everybody, I will see you all later, maybe later tonight. But if not, I will talk to you all tomorrow. I'll be live early tomorrow, probably around early afternoon, maybe noon to 1 o'clock Eastern time. So I will see you all then. You all have a wonderful night, and I may see you tonight. Bye-bye.